Hello, welcome to the queue. Go away for a week, get back in the office. Maps are all over the place. This is one of them. It's the pre order Global War 85 map. It arrived while I was gone. I've got another map there that I will share in October. But let's get to this one right here. And it is a beauty. It is lovely. Give a big up overview here while we're looking. The units that I pre-ordered in the sets are not ready yet, but the map is, along with the player aids, which is what I got. We'll take a look at those this evening. And it is a glorious map. I love the time period look to these sea zones, the global war. Um, it just all matches that time period, the colors. As a matter of fact, I think the first thing I said, Admiral Seabass asked me what I thought of the map. I think that's the first thing I mentioned was these sea zones, the font, the little shading. If you look at that in there, just looks like something right out of that era. Let me go back to the normal there. All right, so um, it is a good looking map. You've got your NATO, you've got your U.S., Warsaw Pact, Soviet Union, China, which do they call it CCP? I believe they do. Gotta gotta break from the global war 85 or 36 and 85. They're gonna get confused for a while, I'm sure. Um, but some of the unique things on the map, one of the ones is kind of a blowback to the past. There are these blow up boxes across the bottom of the map for the congested areas, which reminds you of the original Axis and Allies game. But very functional because there are some tight areas, especially like the Persian Gulf here. I mean, that is very tight, and why you would want a blow up of that. Let me zoom in a little bit here so we can take a peek. You've got all sorts of nation specific miners. Um, and you see this symbol here, and then there's a symbol here with a shield. And I can't recall which one is the defense treaty. Um, there's different levels, and when you go to war in certain regions, certain of these flip in the scenarios or the events. I mean, some of these will go, U.S., some will go, let's see, we can see. Yeah, here's the Soviet Union one here in Iraq. Um, they have this symbol, there's the shield symbol. Probably should have looked that up before I started making the video, but I thought I could remember those and I can't. So, you turn on the camera, things go wild. Here we got Turkey with the NATO symbol, but it also has the Soviet flag there behind there. So, oh no, that's the Turkish flag. That must be for a different event. But also within here, you've got your military bases, which act as your factories. Then you have a major city symbol there. And those major city symbols come in end game for victory points as far as ones that have been attacked by nuclear weapons. If it gets that far, the game I played, it did not get that far. There's your airbase symbol, has a U.S. flag, which means that the U.S. has special functions at that airbase in NATO. So now I'm seeing the flags. All the NATO nations are the same. They have the NATO symbol with the national flag. That's why that's there. Same with the Warsaw Pact. I think those are the only two nations that have that. But all sorts of symbols, the shipyards, ports, they're all very similar, major and minor. They have different functions than in Global War 36 and similar functions. So just a very good looking map. I love how the rivers here kind of hug the borders. There's really no question, when you're crossing a river to make an attack. And then, of course, you've got these type territories that don't have any symbols at all. Those are your strict neutrals. I believe that is an oil. No, maybe not. Never mind. That's the IPP point that you get for those territories. So this, even though they're strict neutral, will come into play. There's your oil symbol there with the 2 on it being worth oil points. So those are spread around, probably more so over here. Yeah, 6, 2. So another interesting oil feature, and it's printed on the map, is the destroyed oil tankers. So in this zone here, you've got all these oil tankers that start, with these markers on them that came with the map. And the objective is for the U.S. To protect the green ones. The blue ones will go on NATO sea zones, which, I think is this one. There's some others around the map for these blue tankers. So there's a lot more for the U.S. to protect. And of course, the Soviets will want to try and take out some of these tankers because that reduces income, for U.S. and NATO nations. So that's kind of a cool feature. So you've got some zones you got to protect. You just can't leave alone. Some more there. So a lot of interesting features on the map directly, and it's just a lovely map. I like everything about it. So that shield, I know when I was playing the U.S. Command or Pacific Command on this side, when I was actually at war, the nations that had the shield were flipped over to my control. So I got those IPPs, I got those units that were there, and ships and whatnot. So I just can't remember. Defense Treaty, Defense Pact. My bad. So might zoom out here and look at some of the player aids that came with the map. This is an interesting one. If I can try and get where the shadow won't be on things. So I'll bring them over. A lot of glare. It's a detailed sequence of play, and it lists everything down to the gnat's behind. That's a lot of detail, but kind of small, but to get it all on there, this is a pretty neat player aid, actually. If you miss anything, hey, where'd that go? When do I do this? It's right there. I mean, just everything. That's pretty cool. National objective, I'm going to have to hold those at a different... just leave them flat, and that won't be a glare. So all the nation specific, their victory conditions and points, this one's worth 2. So that's how you total up where you are in the game to see who wins. The interesting thing, it is printed on this vinyl material, and it has a gray background, but it lays flat immediately and it stays flat. We actually got some test maps that we were doing playtest games, and it was on this material, and it was like, oh my gosh, that's the greatest material ever. So now the player aids are starting to come on that, and that is huge. You can see all these were rolled up in a box not 10 minutes ago. And income chart, starting, lots of different things that happens. And got to have an income chart to play. You got to also have a technology chart, which is cool as well. Some nations start at different stages. U.S. starts completed on this one here. Seed suppression of enemy air defenses. Soviets start out with the long range. So there's all sorts of... And within these stages, different things happen. So when you look on here on the computer technology, one army base upgrade is available when you're at stage 1, 2, and 3, and unlimited base upgrades when you complete that. Is just one of the things. Chem has the same thing, stages. So that's pretty cool. I really like that about the game. Build chart, not a bunch of different things. A major army base, 3 stages, so 3 turns. You place it and move, and then you move it to stage 2 and then put it on the board. So these are the things here that you can place immediately. And that the oil tanker is, you can replace these oil tankers that you lost at any time, but you have to make sure you're defending them, or you're going to be buying more. The battle boards here are unique in that what is contained on the battle board. It's not just your dice number and what's happening with the units. They have a complete first strike section for different units, an air superiority section for different units and what their capabilities are. This one's defense, that's attack. Then you got your normal battle board that you think, helicopter 6, or attack helicopter 6, and whatnot. There's the A-10 at a 5. But in that section here is hits scored, so you can actually track your hits there. You can also track target selected hits. I believe the blue is naval. Well, there's 2 blue there. One of them's naval, one of them's air, one of them's ground. Air superiority hits. And then here's a retired category. So like in Global War 36, your anti-aircraft guns get to shoot on round 1 only. So you got your SAMs here, and they will fire. And if you don't take them as a casualty, they just go here on for round 2. That way they just kind of pull off. So that's kind of neat. A lot of extra detail on these battle boards, which I find was really helpful, especially when you have the different categories of first strikes and air superiority there. So very cool. The last player aid is a section of nation specific, and they call them dashboards. It has everything you'll need. You start with some missiles. You build missiles each turn. Your DEFCON level, which is where some nations start lower than others because obviously the aggressors in this game are the Soviet and Warsaw Pact nations. So they're starting down here ready to attack, whereas NATO and the Allies, are starting here at the 5 and got to work their way down to where they can actually do some attacking. And then you've got your section here of what they call nuclear release. And it is the same kind of concept as DEFCON level. As it goes down, the farther you go down, the more types of different nukes you can use. So, you start off, if you get the first one, battlefield nukes, and then there's anti-ship nukes, and then theater-wide. Now we're starting to get into the big destructive stuff, which nobody wants to get to. In the game that we were playing, only a couple nations got into battlefield nuke zone release, and we're using them. I think there was a nuclear ship attack as well, and then one of the nations got to use the theater nuclear weapons, but that was at the end of the game. So each nation, this one being the Soviet, and I don't know the commands. There's a Soviet nation, and then there's a Pacific Command side, which I think is called the Far East Command for the Soviets. So this one is the Pacific Command for the United States. So the United States is broken up into 2, as well as the Soviet Union. And they are very similar, and that's the Warsaw Pact one. Let's go. Here's the regular USA, which is your East Coast and Europe. All pretty much the same, NATO. And then I think that, let me look at that symbol. Yeah, that's your Pacific Command Soviet Union side. So, and then of course the CCP is a little different because part of their objectives are over here. They also have a morale for their nation. So they actually do a little bit more on their dashboard than the other nations. And because their victory conditions are somewhat different, being a three-player or three side, basically. You could have what, 2, 4, 6, 2, 4. You can have 2, 3. So yeah, you got 7 players, with the 7 different nation levels. I don't know why I lost that. So anyway, a lot of different variants, but CCP is alone. They have to make deals. They have to do other things to win their combats and defenses. They do have some opportunity here in Africa. With some of these nations are specifically aligned to China, and they get to battle in Africa, Southeast Asia, defend against the Soviet Far East Command because they're aggressive, but they have to be to try and win this game. So that's a look at the map and the player aids. These are similar to something I'm using in Global War 36, but way more detail. And you can't get by without all this information. So there you have it. And then of course it has that 80s look, just love everything about this map and those player aids. So that is my sales pitch for Global War 85. I'm not sure when my unit sets will come, but then whenever they do, we'll start painting. And eventually we'll get into a YouTube war on this game, this map. So looking forward to that. Hope you enjoyed the little preview of Global War 1985.